this up. And we are now live. Give it a second to finish updating the stream rate.
Do I need to be in Twitch or do I need to be here in Discord?
You'll be just fine right where you're at. So I've got all the inputs coming from the Discord chat. So my
Okay.
voice from my mic and then you guys coming through Discord. And I believe I have everything balanced pretty well here. Alrighty. Well, let's start out then. Well, hello, I am Espisis, and this is my friend Jedzia. We are from the Conclave of Aratar, and we're going to be your host today for our Face of the Conclave. For those of you who don't know us, I, Espisis, am the mayor of Vindeburg, a town in the someday to be released Chronicles of Elyria game. Jedzia, if you want to tell us a little tidbit about yourself.
All right. My name is Jadzia Tusari. I run the clan of the Tusaris, which are Teresians, or plan to be Teresians. We have the town of New Caledonia that is situated in Count Tiberius Magnus's county. And we plan on being a merchant town, and I run the Cedars Inn, and my goal in Elyria specifically is to have the world's best cookbook in Elyria. So that's a little bit about me, and we have one other big feature that New Caledonia will be hosting, and we will be housing the House of the Weavers. So anybody that is excited about tailoring or crafting or tapestry or weaving, please come see me.
So the purpose of this stream today is really to let you as potential Illyrians get to know our community, what we're about, at least what our different inner communities are about. Like I said before, we're part of the duchy, the Conclave of Aratar. That duchy is made up of counties and towns, associations, schools, organizations, think your guilds, your different social groups. And so today we have two guests with us. Blackbobb and BOS Blackwater, and we will be asking them some questions, getting to know them. Um, Blackbobb and BOS here are both Duchy Chancellors of the Conclave of Aratar. So we're taking it right away. Um, if you guys want to say hi, I encourage that.
Hello, everyone. I'm
Hello.
Boss.
So that was Boss, and I believe that in the background was Blob or Blackbobb.
Hello. Blackbobb here.
All right, so we're going to go through a series of questions just to kind of break the ice, get to know you guys a little bit better. Um, we'll start out with Boss. We'll go to Blackbobb. I'll prompt you as we go. So, first off, you know, uh, Boss Blackwater, you've done something similar to this before, I believe. I'll post the link to it in the chat later on. But how did you decide your gamer tag?
Well, I have a bunch of different names depending on which game I go to, um, but I decided to go with the ones that stuck with me the most. The BOS part is part of my Eve tag, Boss Hydra, and Blackwater was my character in Black Desert Online, which I ran a guild in for, well, still continue to run a guild in since launch, a little over 2 years now. But I typically prefer to go by Boss, but plenty of people butcher my name, so I'm used to it.
Gotcha, gotcha. How about yourself, Blackbobb? Any special meaning?
So I've used Blackbobb for quite a while now. So I would say before Blackbobb or during the same time as Blackbobb, I've also used Pantalones as a gamer tag. So um, they're both kind of like Navy nicknames that I was given on ships that I was on, and and that's kind of where the names come from. There's kind of some long stories behind them, but anyway, the Navy gives out pilots call signs and stuff. I'm not a pilot in the Navy, but on ships I did get a nickname of both Blackbobb and Pantalones at different points in my life.
Gotcha. So we've got a Navy guy, um, Black Desert Online gamer, Jedzia. I've never asked you this before. How did you choose your name?
It actually comes from Deep Space Nine, and she was the Trill on Deep Space Nine, and I've carried Jadzia all the way back to Anarchy Online. So it's followed me through Dark Age of Camelot. It's followed me through Anarchy Online. It was actually in Pirates of a Burning Sea. So this is just another incarnation specifically of Jedzia, but it fits specifically since we do have souls that go into our bodies, which become another one of the trill features kind of in COE. So I thought it was very appropriate.
Gotcha, gotcha. And for those of you who are curious, suspicious comes from an old Greek word, and it was actually a character I used in a short story I wrote years ago. So moving on now, uh, Blob, and I'm gonna keep calling you Blob. It's a hard habit to break here. What does leadership mean to you? What do you look for? What do you see in a good leader?
So to me, leadership is inspiring others um, to collectively reach a common goal. Um, so I think that leadership has multiple stages of it. I think that most people with practice can learn to be good leaders to a certain degree. And then I know this is just my opinion, and I've taken plenty of leadership courses. Obviously, I'm an officer in the military, um, but I have an opinion too that some people are just born to be leaders. They have the right charismatic skill set and stuff that puts them over the edge. Like you can just look at people and throughout the course of history that there was just something about them that made them completely different and made a lot of people rally to a cause. Some causes may not even be good, right? But still, people followed. Um, so I think that leadership is mostly experience and learning, and then I think that there's a small portion of it that is something that is inherited and is hard to explain. It's a mixture of personality. But I do think that leaders are both good listeners, um, know when to make the right decisions, and kind of inspire people to get onto a common cause.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, Blackwater, you mentioned that you've got a group inside Black Desert Online, so you've got some experience inside here. What does leadership look like? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, so uh, echoing a lot of what Black Bob said, he summed up a lot of good points about leadership. For me personally, going way back, like back to like WoW and Lineage 2 and a whole bunch of other MMOs, um, I never really saw myself as a leader, let alone a natural leader. I was always pretty happy to support the group I was in, but never really felt like I wanted to or like I could step up and be effective as a leader. But over time, I just naturally found myself getting into officer positions, or eventually with Black Desert as a GM. Um, so I think loyalty is a huge part of leadership, and a lot of people who you'll find as good potential leaders are also loyal. Maybe not to your cause forever, right? But as long as you can inspire people and keep them on the same track, they'll, you know, if you've got good intentions, people will follow you for that. Um, and yeah, so really anyone can be a leader. Almost anyone, I would say. You just got to find the right circumstances to let them shine and let them recognize their own potential.
Good, good. Now we've got this game, Chronicles of Elyria, that's coming out in the future. Um, this is made some waves. This has sparked some souls. Um, I know what excites. What about Elyria excites me? Jed, do you have any input here? What always pulled you into it?
The biggest thing that pulled me into it was, and I'm going to use the coined phrase that Caspian did, which Caspian has used the new word called meow. It's a multiplayer online evolving game. Um, and or evolving world, as he puts it. And I got very tired of the carrot and same quest for every single character, and the character not evolving and the world not evolving based on your actions. And when this hit the streets and what they've said they're going to do, I was hook, line, and sinker. I'm in.
Gotcha. So that explains you, Blackwater here. There's, some similarities, some differences between Black Desert Online, Eve, like you mentioned before, and Illyria as it's been described so much as or so far by the developers. What pulls you into this?
Oz, you still there?
Huh? Oh, thought this was for Black Vial. I'm sorry,
No, no, sorry.
I spaced out. So I think I think they want to implement a lot of different game mechanics and a lot of interacting systems. So I think that's exciting for me to see what they're going to do with all the contracts and laws, all the social aspects, the astrology, the how the NPCs give you kind of dynamic quests based off of your birth time and whatever. I think all of that's going to be very interesting just to see how everything pans out. A bunch of kind of uh, systems with different natures interact with each other.
Gotcha, good. So, Bob, I know you come from Rust and you've done some PUBG, some FPS, some PvP like things. What about this game? Is it all PvP for you? Is there other things that you find enticing?
Yeah. In fact, I would say that my my entire portfolio of gaming has been PvP. So I've been part of some hard mode progression WoW guilds, both in guild leadership and on raid teams. I've played pretty much every MMORPG launch, like major title launch, at least at a minimum to check it out. Some a little bit more in depth than others. And before that, I even played some of the old games that were online in the late 90s and then early 2000s. And I would say I kind of settled on Star Wars Galaxies is my, you know, uh, is the pinnacle of MMORPGs or online gaming to me. So that's Star Wars Galaxies before they broke it. Star Wars Galaxies in its initial state pre CU. Um, I thought was an amazing game. It was very in depth. It was complex. It required a lot of teamwork and engagement in your groups, and that's kind of what I'm looking for in COE. So, yeah, I'm kind of mostly doing PvP stuff right now because there's not really a game that I want to invest a bunch of time into as an MMORPG. There's just nothing out there that's worth it besides World of Warcraft, and I'm kind of done with World of Warcraft after this many years of it. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot that I'm looking forward to in COE that goes back to the old style of MMO gaming.
And I will second with him as far as the old Star Wars. That was an awesome, awesome game before they broke it.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna kind of start transitioning into things about your packages, things about the communities that you're a part of, what makes you or the people around you exciting or attractive to new Aratarians, to new Illyrians. Um, so what I'm going to start this out with is if you have a family history, not in real life, not IRL, in game or to be in game, tell us just some spark notes about that. What makes that interesting? What are some big things about your family history that you would tell your friends at a convention, at a bar, at some place to get them excited? If you want to start, Black Bob.
So I'm answering what I tell people to get them excited about COE.
Think
No,
just
about your family. About your family history. Why be a part of possibly Black Bob's clan?
Oh, okay. So uh, I've kind of taken an interesting approach with the family in the game. So we kind of based and I say we because it's more than just me. There's
Well, there's you, Genocide,
yeah,
Duchess.
yeah. So genocide and a few of our friends from WoW, and we kind of went with a wolf theme. So in the county, we wanted to do something that was related to the wolf. And early we learned on that the Broodveer were kind of like related, or at least related their culture to the wolf in a sense. And so we went with a story in our family that we were kind of, I wouldn't say savages, but not as civilized as the rest of Elyria in the forest. And we kind of like were maintaining our own clan, not really organized yet. And then the big war happened, and of course, it was kind of all hands on deck to attend, and that's where our family started to integrate into the normal society of Illyria and the normal feudal kingdom system. Um, so I think it's pretty cool because the family and the county kind of have that still kind of like savagery to them a little bit, that where they're not necessarily like Duchess would be extremely refined. Well, our county is kind of not extremely refined, right? You know we're a little different. So I think that makes it interesting, and that's what I would say is interesting about the family is we didn't go down the full kingdom monarchy, um, upstanding noble path, right? We're kind of not.
so Blackwater. Um, any spark notes that you can give us about your history?
Yeah. So when I first joined the Conclave, I was very interested in the High Elder of War position, and we'll touch on our leadership structure later during this. So that's kind of what I based my family history and story around. Um, and I haven't completely modified it since then, but here's the base, and I'll still use it. So the basics are my a group of hunters that kind of kept to themselves. They traveled across the duchy, just teaching people how to hunt effectively, and spread wisdom. And eventually, the duchy got invaded by some outside forces, and my family was responsible for kind of, well, not solely, but largely responsible for rallying all the tribes and clans and barons and counts and whatever to basically fend them off. And it kind of went from there. Just the lineage, the notoriety went from there. We became more famous and whatever. It eventually rose to the higher ranks of the duchy leadership. So I want to keep. I like that hunter kind of nomadic tribe aspect of my history. So I'll do something with that. I'll just modify it a bit.
Do you have a tribe that you're leaning towards, boss?
Um, I I kind of like the Genoa in concept,
Okay,
but I don't know. The Turesque is okay as well. I would settle for a Niran if I had to, but definitely not a Kipik.
I got you.
I'd settle for a Naren, but definitely not a Kipik. Um, so we're gonna ask you some pointed questions about, your settlement. You've touched on your history. Some settlements in this, some parts of the community have said, "Hey, I want to be a blacksmith. I want to do PvP. I want to do PvE. I really care about role playing." And so those are the type of questions, answers that we're gonna get into this next section. A section I'm calling your community. So to start off with, Blackwater, can you tell us what is your vision for your settlement, for the people around you?
Yeah. So the idea is the overarching goal for whatever settlement I oversee is going to be to support the duchy military. So whether that be a training ground for people to practice, arming them with weapons, resupplying them, creating a lot of buildings for lodging and temporary stays for deployments, whatever. So that's the overall goal, and it takes someone from every gameplay style to kind of make that work, right? So it's just about uniting a bunch of people with different interests for that common cause, for just making sure that our military is strong and able to defend ourselves.
In the I guess the question goes back over to you now, Bob.
So we're talking about county or duchy here.
We're talking about county, so if we're attracting people to Lycon Forest, your county, um, why should they come to you? What are you seeking
So,
PvP people? Are you what are you looking for there?
yeah.
What are you trying
So
to?
I think what we're trying to do in Lycan Forest, our county, is that we're trying to place on an enemy border. And the reason that we're trying to place on an enemy border, it entertains the player that wants to live in the gray area, right? So, yeah, I want to be a farmer, but I also want to have an alt that swings a sword, right? I want to, I want to do some things where I cross the border that I can't do when I'm interior to the border, right? Some of the Black Ops type things. It allows that player. The PvP player, it allows that player. And even if it's not offensive PvP, right? It's defensive PvP by controlling an entryway into the duchy. So that would be one thing. Um, it also entertains the econ player who wants to live in the for lack of a better term, the Eve words of living in the low security zone, right? So um, it entertains the econ player that wants to get goods to places where other people really don't want to travel, don't want to get goods to, and in a lot of gaming, that's places where there's money to be made, right? Because people are going to need supplies in those areas, and so it kind of entertains the player who wants to live in the gray area, and that's what we're trying to do in our county. The guy who I farm carrots, I also will stab someone with my pitchfork, right? I bring goods to PvPers who are on a front line during battle, right? Like it entertains all of that, and that's what we're looking to do in the county.
Gotcha, gotcha. So in the county that you're intending to set up that we can grow. How does people, you've given this freedom, you want this gray, you know, where are areas to grow? The counties, are we setting up like a governmental structure? Is there a leadership that you can speak of here?
So so in our county, um, I'm trying to do more of a team aspect. So we kind of know what kind of player I am, right? I'm more of like the I don't really craft goods, I buy goods to use, right? I'm a consumer. I'm a raider and a PvPer. That's my game style, right? And I have a feeling that a lot of people who are going to want to live in our county are going to have a similar game style to that, right? So um, what I'm looking for in the county is the people who are actually interested in the other facets of the game. So and that's how I'm gonna have to run it as a team. So for instance, I'm not big on RTSs. You guys don't see me sit around playing RTSs and stuff, right? So there's a lot of players though who are like, hey, I'm into that kind of stuff. I'm into the civilization building. I'm into doing the roads thing. I'm into managing the resources of the land and stuff. And I'm going to be looking for those people to step up in the county to help me team government run the county and make sure it's effective. So I don't have all the answers. There's for everything. I'm not an expert on everything. I don't play certain types of games that this game is filling a huge swath of different player types. And I know where my expertise is and I know where it's not. And I need to find the people on my team that fill in the where I'm not. And that's kind of how I'm looking to govern the county.
Gotcha. Now, BOS, you mentioned that um, you want to be leading military. You want to, heavy on that PvP side. Both Blackwater here and Blackbob are have held the position of High Elder of War. Have both been, PvP focused in a lot of the gaming that they've done. And where in the future we may discuss what military could look like, what we think good military procedure, or maybe not procedure is a good word, but structure looks like. Um, are you looking for like-minded military like people, Blackwater, to help build that group around you?
A little bit. I'm not actively recruiting, but I do have a couple of buddies that I've played games with in the past. And I've seen, what they can do with an officer position. So I've got a couple of people interested. They're just kind of a little quiet at the moment. Um, so, until I get more details, like Blob said, I also don't have all the answers for how I'm going to run things. I'm just going to kind of wait and see, how counties work, how settlements work, before I really start ironing out the details and figuring out precisely how many people I need and in what positions. But I could be open in the future.
Understood. So like I mentioned earlier, we've got the Chancellor of the Cosmos, BOS Blackwater, and the Chancellor of the Earth, Blackbob Filtern. You may have heard me name drop Chancellor, and we're going to kind of go into what these things mean. So the image we're looking at right now is more or less the High Elder. It's one side of the governmental structure that we currently use in the conclave right now. You notice, we try to maintain balance. It's one of our principles, one of our tenets in the conclave here. So we keep a two-sided um, structure here, one side being the Earth, the other being the cosmos. Um, can you tell me a little bit, BOS Black Bob, and feel free, to jump in as you want here, about what we're looking at, any details that I've missed right now?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. Um, yeah, so the government is kind of split, quote unquote, into two sides. It's not an actual split government. We do a lot of, collaboration and working together for whatever projects uh, we're working on. But each kind of section that you see in those boxes, each kind of side focuses on a certain aspect of the duchy. Cosmos is more kind of the ideological side, I suppose. You've got knowledge, you've got justice, and you have statecraft, which is like interactions between other entities outside of our duchy. And then the Earth side is more kind of the nitty gritty actual infrastructure of what's going on. So you have like interior for recruitment and other things. You have commerce, which is obviously to make money, and then you have war for protection and all of that. So that's kind of the rough overview, and I guess we'll get into specifics later. So each one of us, Blob and myself, we oversee one of those sides of the government. We just kind of make sure the High Elders have everything they need, and we're here for any input. And we're also kind of the right and left hand of the Duchess.
And just for those viewers out there, essentially our schedule is that we will go through all the elders that you see here first listed, then we will go through all the counts of the duchy, and then we will go through all the mayors. And so you will see a broadcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and then every Sunday at 4 p.m. And that will be continuous, and they will be posted on our YouTube and then also on our other websites. So these will be available for your viewing. Continue, Mr. Bob, please.
Oh, I mostly concur with what he said there about the split in the Cosmos on our side of the chancellors. The only other thing that I would add is that we also represent the conclave at the kingdom level, so we are the backup to Duchess there, and the two chancellors combined are supposed to be able to be Duchess's opinion um, at the kingdom level. So it is kind of important that we are not the same and we think differently about things because um, we know when we like both disagree on something, it's probably something, or when we both agree that something is bad or we both agree that something is good, we're probably dead on. When we have a mixed opinion, that's where we probably have to have a conversation to figure out how we're going to answer the Duchess. So it's kind of a good system.
So we've got a number of vacancies inside here. This is as accurate as we could make it at this time. There are a few errors, but we're going to overlook those for now. If you can take a look at this, Blackwater and Bob, and pick out one or two vacancies that we're seeing on this list, and just give a quick description of what what those positions are and that sort of thing.
Maybe something you're really looking for right now.
Yeah, Blob, if you want to go ahead. And also, could you? I can't find a bigger version to look at. It's kind of small on your share screen.
Sure, I'll send you a link.
Thank you.
So I'll tell you what the most important elder that I believe that we are missing in the conclave right now, um, on this side, on the Earth side, is the elder of recruiting. I honestly believe that the most important thing that every single group in this game should be doing, if we all want to secure our investment and bring and make this game come to fruition that we all want, is we need to bring people in to support the game. So I believe that recruiting is the most important job that we need to fill right now. We need to find a person out there who has that skill for going into forums and going into other game sites and everything and pulling people into COE. Even if it's not for our duchy, even if it's just to bring them into Chronicles of Elyria, we need more people in this game. Now on the other side, on the Cosmos side, and this will just be my opinion because I'm not in the Cosmos side, but I honestly believe that we need to find an elder of the tech sorcery guy. So that would be, I believe he's calling it elder of scripting right now, but we also have talked in the past that the guy who can do that would also be someone who is very tech savvy at doing internet stuff and the web page stuff that we need to do. And I think that we really need like web development work going on here. We need that person. We used to have someone who had that skill, and I realized for those guys that do that, guys and girls that do that kind of work, that when they come online and then have to do it here too, it's kind of like being at work all day. So I realized that a lot of people don't want to do that when they come on to relax. But it's an important person that I think we do need to fill.
Anything to add there, Blackwater?
Um, no, I pretty much agree with both of those things. Recruitment's always important for any organization, and yeah, it's always good to have a tech sorcerer. Um, I think Cosmos has more elder positions open at the moment, so we're a little bit light on the Cosmos side at the moment, which is okay. It's just a matter of finding the right people. But definitely, once we get more knowledge on mechanics and stuff, the elder of scripting is going to be very valuable.
So let's just comment on that too. I think we've done a very good job in this conclave for how long this group has been running and not immediately filling all of the elder positions. So I think we're probably averaging 1 to 2 positions being filled a quarter, and I think that that's probably about right. So there's people that have just aren't even in the game yet or aren't even in the group yet that are going to be the most excellent person in that elder position that we can find. And we want to make sure that before we put someone in those positions that a they have the time to dedicate to it and they have the aptitude for that position and we're picking the right person. You're talking about a triple duchy here, which could be in the thousands of player characters, and we need to make sure that the people that are filling those positions are the right people.
It's not a
Yep,
house.
absolutely.
It's not a house, it's a home. And that leads us to a good segue for my next question. So, there's people out there, whether they're Aratarians listening in the future, Illyrians who are trying to decide on a group. Maybe they have aspirations for some of these positions, or just to find a group that they can make a home. Maybe they haven't even heard about the Chronicles of Elyria yet, and they're thinking, hey, you know, I'm excited about this. I want to get involved. You know, um, like Black Bob just said, we've been averaging. It's a relatively slow pace, and we like that pace. What does joining the conclave look like, and what does transitioning into, say, applying for one of these positions, what are the expectations we try to set, I guess, for those people who want to create a group, who want to get involved with the community, or who want to take up a position of leadership? Free to anyone here.
Yeah, I'll go. So as far as roughly what we're expecting, um, leadership position in any game is not like a set in stone, like you're going to do this. Like yeah, we all have our assigned tasks, right? But every person is different. So we kind of go on a case by case basis. But as far as what we expect, loyalty, uh, internal motivation to fulfill whatever role you're fulfilling with the conclave. We don't want to tell you to do things because that just gets kind of weird and uncomfortable after a while, right? If you want to be here, you're gonna want to do more. Um, so yeah, internal drive is really important. Obviously, loyalty, and we kind of have we have a higher standard, right? We're still waiting for a lot of game mechanics to come out, but you know, each one of these positions. So like one duchy is going to be hundreds or thousands of people, right? And we're a triple duchy, like Black Bob mentioned. Um, this isn't going to be a really like easy thing, right? So some kind of experience in whatever field you're working in uh, is very useful. Um, and these are like the high end positions, right? There's going to be stuff lower than them if you're interested in leadership or just helping out every now and then. We'll flesh down the ranks eventually, but these are just kind of the core that we're going with right now. And as far as applying, there is, whenever you join our Discord, there's pinned messages in multiple channels. And I think the Aratarian channel, one of them, there's a pinned message for an application that you're interested. I think it's the Moonsong Meadow. So, Blob, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I guess just kind of echoing that, um, I think that if someone really wants to be in Dutchy leadership here, um, they come here, they show their activity here, they show an aptitude for the area that they're applying for. Um, they put together something, right? I not even if it's something that we're actually going to use, but I like seeing people put together something for that area. Show me that you have some initiative or some thought on the area or something that you want to put together, showing that you've actually thought about how that area would function. Um, and I think that, along with a little bit of time and baking in here so that people get to know you, see your activity, see your aptitude for the area, and then applying, I think that's a way to apply for the Dutchy positions. With that said, I think that everyone should look at and say, is a Dutchy position really what I want? Understand the size of this game. I think understand what a Dutchy position means. It almost means that you're giving up a lot of other parts of the game that you want to do. So the position that you're looking for might be a guild leader, or might be a leadership in a town, or a leadership in a county, um, or leadership in an association. I think when you start to get to the higher levels of the kingdom management, on the duchy management, your role starts to shift from what I actually want to do in game to what I'm doing for the good of the group. And there's a lot of people who are into that kind of thing, right? Look at Ella in our group, for instance, right? Use her as an example because you saw her in Life is Feudal, right? She was more interested in the community management and organization and bringing people in than actually playing the game. right? So, and I think that that's kind of what Dutchy jobs need is people who are more interested in the area and the organization of the community more so than actually diving in a dungeon or running some kind of trade organization or so I think that that's what people really need to look at and say, is this really what I'm looking for in this game?
I think you bring up a really valid point, though, too, Bob, in the sense that once the game does release, you're going to have not only positions specifically in a duchy or say a county as far as leadership, you're also going to have township associations and schools specifically that will crop up kind of organically. And that's probably one of the neatest things about this game is that you do have um, growth that's going to happen that otherwise not necessarily would in another kind of MMO, which is really exciting because of the dynamic evolving nature of the game.
Yeah, everyone think about that for a second, right? So think about whatever guild you were in whatever game that you've played, and think about the size of what that guild was, and then if you were in anything that was more than uh, a couple of raid groups of people, challenging to manage, right? And then think about the game that you were sitting in. All the activity that was going on around you was just happening by the game's mechanics, right? Like it had nothing to do with the players. If you sit in Stormwind, there's all this stuff that's going on with the city that you don't care about, right? Because it has nothing to do with the players, right? And in fact, once you're done messing with whatever quest there or whatever, it's kind of just like a home base for you to hit the auction house and stuff, right? So now in this game, that's literally all player run, right? Or player interfaced with the AI of the NPCs, right? There's a whole lot more player interaction to that stuff that's going on in the background. And I have to tell you that this is why I love Star Wars Galaxies, right? Um, for an MMORPG, the game was not about the it was not about the Jedi, right? It was not about people swinging around lightsabers and all that stuff. Now, granted, the few Jedi on your server that made it to top tier before they ruined the game. I'm talking about when actually making a high tier Jedi was insanity. Everybody knew who they were. And I'm thinking that that's how the high ranking nobles here that really make an impact are going to be. Everyone's going to know who they are and they make a huge impact and they drive something forward, right? I think that the most people will just kind of not be on anyone's radar. And the game will be about everything that's going on in the environment, which was what Star Wars Galaxies was about. It wasn't about the Jedi. It wasn't about some Skywalker story, right? It was all about the other people in the game. It was about people dancing in a cantina. It was about smugglers smuggling goods from one planet to another. It was about people running a town because you could set up your buildings in towns and set taxes on it and set up a shuttle port to it. It was all the fodder that goes on in the background that no one pays attention to, and that's what made the game beautiful. And I think that COE is going to have the same thing. It's going to have so many people doing so many different types of things that that's what the game is going to be about, and it's going to be less about the kingdom land management stuff that we all think this game is.
Now that is a beautiful sentiment right there. For those of you who picked up on it, um, this game is going to be about you, and I think that's a good point to segue away. Um, we've been going at it for about 44 minutes at it now, um, so I think it's about time for our goodbyes. So, you know, speaking for myself, this has been lovely. Um, Jedzia, I think you can agree. We will hopefully see most of you watching today, um, Wednesdays and Sundays.
Absolutely, and we'll be here. And if you have any questions or concerns, please either PM both me or Espesis, and we'll address those. And we look forward to having you tune in to the next Howlcast.
Yes. And a quick note at the back here. Howlcast, what you saw at the beginning, is just a filler. Conclave 360 is what you will see next time. That's sorry, bad on my part. Thank you so much, BOS Blackwater and Blackbobb, for joining us here today. The discussions have been lively.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thanks
guys
for
for
having me.
kicking. Thank you for kicking this off, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. So just a reminder to everybody listening, we the hosts are from the Duchy, the Conclave of Artar, just like BOS, Blackwater, and Blackbobb are. If you or a friend of yours is a part of the Artarian community and wish to have a similar spotlight for your group, school, organization, town, or county, reach out to Jedzia. She can get you fit into our scheduling. If you have a topic that you'd like to talk about with the community, be it crafting or politics, economy, the deviant lifestyle, the PvP lifestyle, reach out to me, Aspesis, and we'll put something together in our format so that we can let our excitement show about this game. Um, Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.